Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be now looking at the viewports themselves. The viewports are the most prominent thing you're going to be using. It's going to be where you're going to be creating all your assets and your content. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time and sort of talk over the different aspects of the viewport themselves. So to begin with, we have 4 viewports. 3 are orthographic, and what that means is that they are 2-dimensional, and 1 that is labeled as perspective, and this is basically the 3-dimensional view that you're going to be seeing your world through. If you look at where it says perspective, you can see we have this yellow outline around the edge of the viewport, and what that means is that this is the active or selected viewport. So if I left click in any one of these other viewports, you can see that that yellow band also highlights around that viewport itself. If I press the Alt and W key, then I can maximize and minimize any viewport. Now, it's also worth noting that if I just scroll my mouse pointer over any of these viewports without actually clicking them and press the Alt W, then that will also make that viewport not only the maximized viewport, but also the active viewport. In the top left of each viewport, you'll see that we have 3 pieces of text. We have this plus sign, we have a perspective, or if we go to the left, you see it says left, and then we also have this one that says realistic. Now, I'm not going to go through every single option inside here, but I'm going to run down a few of the most common ones that you'll probably want to be using straight away. So if you click this plus icon, the first one you're going to be wanting to look at is configure viewport, and this is going to contain all the settings of the viewport itself. Now, I'm not going to sort of go through these options right now, but in the future I will sort of talk about some of these different aspects here. Next one is perspective. If we click this, it's just going to allow us to change the view of the viewport. So at the moment this is the perspective, but if we want, we could change this to bottom, front, back, left, right, top, and so on and so forth. You can also see we have this option that says save frame, and if we check this, you're going to see that the viewport space itself actually gets smaller, and we get this this new yellow box or yellow highlight, and then sort of cropped off the viewport, and this is basically saying that this is the area that's going to be rendered when it comes to rendering. So we can change this under the rendering tab, but again, we'll talk about those sort of things as we move forward. Next one is this one that says realistic, and if we click on this, all it's going to allow us to do is to change the different shading modes. So we can have a standard shading mode, a constant, faceted, hidden lines, wireframes, and so on and so forth. So just to give you an idea of what this is actually doing here, if I create just a simple box, and that one is set to realistic, so you can see we have the shadows. However, if we change this to shaded, then we're going to get a flat view. We can also do things like look at the bounding boxes. So what that means is that if we select something, or we just want to see the actual outlines of something, then that's the way we do that. We have wireframes, which looks similar but is not. We have things like clay and so on and so forth, and these different shading modes we will talk through as we get into using them. On the top right, we have this view cube. And this is, if we click on this, we can sort of move around the viewport, or if we click on one of the faces, so say for instance the top, then it's going to switch to the top view. Now this is just one way to manipulate the viewport itself, and it's not really the recommended way that I would suggest that you manipulate the viewports. So the way I would suggest that you get to manipulate the viewports are by using shortcuts and hotkeys, as they're the most efficient way. So I'm just going to go through them first, and then I'll show you the manual way on how to do that. So if you want to pan around your scene, you can click in the mouse scroll wheel, and this will allow you to pan. If we scroll the wheel itself, it will allow you to zoom in and out. And if you press the Control and R key, it's going to bring up the arc rotate tool, and using this we can click inside this actual circle, and it's going to allow you to rotate. Now if we click on the actual arc rotate tool itself, then we can do different things such as manipulate or skew the view there. So that's just something to keep in your mind, something that you may get a little confused in doing at first, or you may do it by accident. And if that does occur, if you do this and you're like, how do I get back? The easiest way is simply just to exit one of the views to another view, they set top view and then go back to perspective, and it will reset. So how did I do that? If we press the T, we're going to go to the top, press the F, we're going to go to the front view, L for left, and P back for perspective. Now, if you are interested in learning the manual ways to manipulate around the scene, those controls are in the bottom right hand corner. So you can see we have a pan tool. So if we click this, we can pan. We also have a zoom tool, so we can zoom in and out. We have the arc rotate tool, and we also have this option for zooming into the selected. So if we are, say, over here and we press this key here, then it's going to zoom into the selected object itself. Now, there is a shortcut for that too. If you select it and press the Z key, it's going to do exactly the same thing there. So that basically is the very basics of the viewport. This applies to all of them. So if we go to the top, then we can change the views by pressing perspective, and we can use all those shortcuts too, as we've mentioned before. Now, the one thing that I do want to note is that if you are in one of these orthographic views and press Ctrl R and then you try to rotate, you will not go into a 3D view. So you will then actually go into what's known as a user view. And this is sort of a sort of in-between space between a 2-dimensional view and a 3-dimensional view. So it's always best just to press the P key and jump back into the perspective view. So with that said, that's the very basics of the viewport itself. We're going to now move on to look at some other aspects of the user interface. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.